Right now, coming out of this Capitol, we're hearing a lot of talk by Speaker Pelosi and a lot of her allies that have been wanting for a long time to take away the rights, those Second Amendment rights that are so cherished of law-abiding citizens. Like, these rights did not come easily, and anytime you hear somebody talking about taking away our Second Amendment rights, people need to listen up and pay close attention. When you look at what's going on right now, it seems like, unfortunately, every time there's a mass shooting, I can tell you firsthand, the first thing we all ought to do is pray. Pray for the victims, and there's still people around this building that want to push prayer further out of that conversation. But unfortunately, the first time we hear about a tragedy, before we even know the facts, there are people right here on Capitol Hill that are rushing to find a microphone, not to pray for the victims, but to promote their own gun control agenda, in most cases for bills that would have done absolutely nothing to affect the shooting. And so, as we're having this conversation here again on Capitol Hill, let's take a look at some of the things that Speaker Pelosi has been promoting. Because again, we ought to take her at her word. When she says she wants these bills to be signed into law, look at the bill that she moved out of the House, that I voted against and so many of my colleagues voted against, because they would infringe on the rights of law-abiding citizens. They wouldn't have stopped the Charleston shooting. They wouldn't have stopped Sutherland Springs. They wouldn't have stopped even Parkland. What they would do is put you in jail for up to a year if you loan your gun to a friend. Make it to where somebody might have to wait up to 20 days to buy a gun to defend themselves against an ex-spouse who might be threatening to come and abuse them. There are people who use guns legally every single day to protect themselves from criminals, and we ought to fight to protect the rights of those law-abiding citizens to continue to defend themselves as the Second Amendment of the Constitution allows. These are not rights that Congress gave. These are enshrined in our Constitution. Our founding fathers talked about the rights of law-abiding citizens to defend themselves. And I think that ought to be at the forefront of this conversation every step of the way through. Because when you look at some of the threats that are coming out, it's very concerning to think that Speaker Pelosi, and then you watched on the stage at the Democrat debate, when you had a major candidate for president of the United States brag about how he wanted to take and come and grab your guns. People are watching this. People are concerned about where the radical left wants to go. Because I would imagine if you asked Democrats here in Washington, if you asked them what they think about the Heller case, just think about this. Right across the street at that building at the Supreme Court, just a few years ago, they answered the question of whether or not the Second Amendment means that you as a citizen should be able to have a gun to protect yourself, or should that right only apply to the military. And it was only a 5-4 decision by one vote. So I would ask every Democrat that talks about where they want to go with the Second Amendment, do they think that the Heller case was resolved correctly or incorrectly by the Supreme Court? I think the Supreme Court got it right. I'm just concerned that it was a 5-4 decision, not a 9-0 decision, making it clear that those Second Amendment rights apply to all Americans, not just the United States military. So as you're hearing people state their intentions, again, Speaker Pelosi has said that she's already laying down a marker with President Trump. She's saying it's not enough to go anywhere short of the bill that she moved out of the House. And again, that bill would make it a criminal offense, up to a year in jail if you loan your gun to a friend. That's where Speaker Pelosi wants to go. It's real important that we fight to protect the Second Amendment rights for law-abiding citizens. Let's go make sure, like what we did with the Fix NICS bill last Congress, where we saw problems with criminals who shouldn't have been able to buy guns, getting guns because the system wasn't working properly for law-abiding citizens. Let's go focus on fixing those problems and not taking away the rights of law-abiding citizens. So again, Jenny Beth, thank you for your leadership.